I
What's
made a
that?
mistake here. Hold on. I want. I'm sorry about that, Donna. We were
Oh, it's
not
okay.
even. I didn't even hit the go live button, and we're talking and chit chatting, and we're not. I'm like, why is there no countdown? And I'm like, oh, because my dummy forgot to hit the
You
go live button. So
hit,
all
you
that
got to
stuff that
hit the
we got to
button.
talk about today, what a second ago, was didn't even get recorded. So once again, I'm sure we're going to have people coming on now. Now we're going to have some people, some views now. Uh, so before that, before I made the mistake, we were just talking, Donna, that we're going to get a little bit into some of your hobbies and what you do and how we beat cancer. So I would like you to introduce yourself, Donna, to everybody and your children and your husband and all that stuff and some of your hobbies, and we'll get moving right into the interview. So go
Oh,
right
yeah.
ahead.
Perfect. My name is Donna. I've been married for almost 22 years to this poor guy. We've been together for almost 30. So he's put up with my shit for a really long time. Uh, we have two kids, really close in age, 15 and 14, both boys, teenagers. So, that's crazy in itself. They're actually really good kids though. So I'm lucky. I got
Yes.
blessed with that. Could be
Yeah.
all bad, but
Well, yeah, it could, yeah. There's sometimes that goes south. You're right about that. So,
I'm really glad I had boys though. I don't know what I'd do with girls, I'm not
so
your I'm not your typical female.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
people will get to know that by the time the interview's done about that. Yeah, not your typical females, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, not your yeah, that's not your type of excuse maker and stuff like that. And I, what you do too, Donna, is I believe you're a masseuse now by one of the things that you do on a full time basis. Is that correct?
I used to before COVID hit. After COVID, I kind of rerouted myself, and I have we have this mad passion for motorcycles, and we decided to buy half of the track club organization that we've been going to for 10 years. So that's pretty much consumes a lot of my time. I also have a part-time job on weekends. I work at a private ranch in Malibu doing valet. So I get to drive cool cars and yell at a bunch of 20-year-olds. So that's pretty fun.
I didn't know you did that. That's pretty. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
pretty. I can imagine. I
Uh,
just I can imagine some
yeah.
of these yeah, these little the high end boy toys
Oh yeah. I
spouting
also
off.
do I do security for the same company for productions, so movie shoots, and I deal with their crew, and some of them are real job, very high maintenance people, but I don't take shit, so good luck to you. They
Yeah,
call me
I
in when it's a rough crew.
yeah, the I've had those run-ins too. I've had some really good people and some that are not so not so friendly in the Hollywood. I've had both gamuts even here, doing a lot of filming out here in Chatsworth.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know how that feels. So let's talk about that motorcycle thing for a second. So when you say you're own part of a track club, what does that mean? What is that? What you guys do?
So we rent out a racetrack, mostly in Bakersfield, called Button Willow. We'll rent the track, and then we sell spots to our customers and run a track day with three formats, ABC. So every 20 minutes, there's a new group of riders. Starts from very beginner, basic riders to super fast racers. We just make sure everybody has a good time and the day goes smooth, and it's like our Disneyland, so we love it there. It's
So
like our
when you do that, when you're talking about the racetrack, is it a is it the motorcycles that are flying around a million miles an hour, or is it or
yeah, it's road
it,
racing.
with the jumps or and all that, or is it more
I don't
just
know,
racing?
road racing. So fast. Some people call them crotch rockets. Japanese motorcycles, Italian motorcycles.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we get everybody from the just a wide variety of people, from basic, brand new, never been on a racetrack before, to seasoned pros that are super fast. And yeah, we just have a lot of fun with it.
Well, how long you been riding then?
I've been riding on the track since '03. I decided, I was going to buy my own bike and do my own thing, but I've been riding on the back of my husband's bike forever. I call it the backpack. I was his backpack for a very long time before I decided to step up my game and do my own riding. Um, but yeah, it's like an adrenaline. It's like skydiving, I guess. People that see that as fun, I don't see that as, like, I would never do that, but it's kind of the same rush.
Right. So it's definitely that's now. So you guys both been has your husband been an avid motorcycle rider for a long time?
Oh, like life.
Uh huh.
All of his life. He's one of those fast guys in the A group.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is he like that when he goes on the freeways?
No, actually, he's kind of a grandpa on the freeways. I always
Is
yell
he?
at him and he's going too slow.
Well, you know what's a trippy thing is when Georgia comes out here, splitting lanes is not allowed in all states,
Right.
and so they trip out when motorcycles are splitting right down the middle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't really understand that. I said I just thought I said I couldn't imagine riding a motorcycle and have to do stop and start all the time. Can you imagine
Yeah.
that? If you weren't allowed to split the lane, what that would look like, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. You
um,
don't want to sit behind a car either, because then you're taking in exhaust.
right,
You
yeah,
know, that
yeah,
just makes you fucking dizzy, and then you shouldn't be on your motorcycle dizzy. So it's a good thing, especially during, like on streets. You get in front of the cars, you take off, you make a little gap, and then you're by yourself. You don't have to worry about getting run over.
yeah. Yeah. So I know I haven't got to go out there with you to see that. I know you've invited me out there to watch that. I've never, the only I'll tell you a motorcycle story. I don't know if I ever told you the story about me. My dad rode a motorcycle quite often, and so did my mom. Believe it or not, they had a and my dad had
Oh,
bought a brand new Honda. I can't remember. It was one of the bigger ones. It's probably I don't know how old was I? Maybe 16 at the time. So this is in the 70s, and my mom is riding it up and down the alley, and I'm like, well, if my mom can do it, I can do it. I mean, come on, right? That's in my this is my thinking
right.
in my head. And so my dad's got this brand new bike, and he goes, okay, you got to you got to let the clutch out a little bit, and you got to do this. And so I hopped on that bike and I popped that clutch because I really didn't understand what not to do. Man, I'm telling you what, that bike took off up and
Oh
zipped
yeah.
down just a little bit, and then I crashed it right there, scuffed up a brand new bike. I'm on the ground, and that was probably the last time in a long time that I even rode a bike. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I ain't doing this. This is not my thing. And then, I got a little bit. I look back on some of the stuff I did with motorcycles. Sometimes I was just so stupid. I really no formal training. And then when I didn't have a car for a little bit, a friend of mine had a crotch rocket like you're talking about,
Hmm.
and he taught me up and down the street. And I said, well, okay, I got the idea of what this is, and so I would take it on the 118 back and forth every once in a while. And I look back on that now going, man, I had no idea what I was doing. I said, at all. I said, I could have really gotten myself hurt. Never had
Oh
any
yeah.
formal training. Didn't have a motorcycle license. Doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. And so it never got in my wheelhouse. I got one of those Can-Mans for a while, one of the three
Yeah.
ones, and I enjoyed riding that. But my daughter couldn't stand that I was on a motorcycle, so I had to let it go.
Yeah.
So I guess it's one of those things that when you're in it for all your life, you're in it. You know what I mean? So, but it is fun to watch those guys race those things. I mean, those guys zipping around and their knee is kind of touching the ground and that
Oh yeah.
craziness, and I guess the G force is what keeps those bikes the way they are. But And how about all the years you've been doing it? How's the track safety record? Is it pretty good?
I've never crashed, knock on wood. Uh,
Hmm.
I personally have never crashed a street bike. I've come close, but I have a very good track record of never crashing. Most people I know have crashed multiple times, including my husband. My husband's last bike caught on fire while he was on it, and he's so calm. He just calmly pulled over, put it on the kickstand, and watched it burn. Now, if I looked down in between my legs and saw flames, I'd probably just jump off and then hurt myself, and But he's so like mellow that he just like crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's all. Well, listening to that, kind of having that adrenaline and what that looks like, is probably what moved you to Krav. I imagine, you know what I mean, as you have that temperament. Where did your Krav Maga training come into play? When did you decide that? Started looking at that.
So I was, doing a little. I was at a boxing gym working out like a champ over there, and Robby called me and knew I had. We so back to Rob. We met like 20 something years ago. Me and my husband decided to take Taekwondo to beat on each other, and we met Rob and his wife at the studio. They were our like 15-year-old instructor kids, the black belt kids. They were super badass. And fast forward years later, he had kids, I had kids. He started this Krav Maga program and told me, I should bring my kids, check it out. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So take the kids down there, and I'm like, dude, I need to do this. Like, the kids can do whatever, but I need to do that. Like, that's awesome. And I remember I was like one of the it was red shirt days. And, I got into it a little bit, and then, stuff happens, and got back out, got back in. And all along I'm thinking, nah, that's my jam. That's what I like to do. So I kind of just fell in love with it, and the idea of, I feel safer, and I'm actually more chill, which is really fucking weird.
Right.
That calmed me down.
Yeah.
Um,
Martial arts has a tendency to do that.
yeah. The first phase, my Taekwondo days didn't, because my husband, we just really went there to beat on each other, and it was kind of fun. Um, but when I started really getting into Krav, uh, basically right before this last cancer, I became like a whole different animal, with it. Still crazy, but not out of control crazy. When I first started, I was literally out of control. And I got
Mm.
humbled a few times in Chatsworth by your black belts, which was good for me. You know, you go
Yeah,
in a
they're
little cocky, and they'll
mhm.
show you real quick what's up. So
Yeah, they're a little, yeah, it's a little different breed, that's for
it
sure.
was it was good though. I needed that, and a lot of people need that. So it's taught me a lot.
I needed
And
that when I was a young guy. I got I
yeah,
got I got spanked when I first started. That was no joke. So
I
I
think
know
my
I ended that.
my kid was about 6 years old, and I decided that I got to quit using my kid as an excuse for my baby weight. So I went on some crazy mission to lose weight, and I lost about 55 pounds in 5 months, all on my own. And then I found breast cancer, like out of nowhere. Like, what the hell is this? And one of my training partners, my battle buddies, I used to call them at the gym, was she's a nurse practitioner. So I had her checking it out in the locker room, and she's like, "Oh, you should have that checked out." And so I did, and turned out to be, a bad thing. And it's like, shit. I just got in like the best shape of my life to find that. So
Yeah.
that was a really weird year, because I wasn't even old enough for a mammogram. I was like just a year too young, and find that, have to have all that. And then I ended up having a mastectomy 2 days before my 40th birthday. And,
Right.
you know, they told me that I'm going to have to be in here, you know, for 2 days in the hospital. And I'm like, yeah, no bullshit. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm not staying in here on my birthday. So, you know, I passed all their little tests and whatever and ended up going home the next day. They were all shocked, but whatever, you
So
know.
when you discovered that, you said a couple things in there. When people go back, what do you mean by the red shirt days? And so you were a founding member when we opened up Ventura KRAV, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, you're one
Yes.
of the very first that came in there because we gave these certain red shirts to founding members that we never made again. And if you have the red shirt, you have the red shirt. You know, is one of the ones that started. And
I
so I
still have the
remember,
red shirt. I
yeah,
still
yeah.
have my shirt.
You know, it's funny about that's something that I've done on most of my schools when I opened, and I don't know who I got it from, but man, they treasure those red shirts. You know what I
Oh, yeah.
mean? And because it's got a certain design on there that we don't do it again. You know, we have some
Yeah.
red shirts again, but not not
Not
the
that
founding
shirt.
members. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's something good to have. So I was going down there quite often when you first started. I was coming down there once a week. I think you got to take class with me quite often on Thursday
Oh,
nights
yeah.
was when I was coming. So that was you know, I remember seeing you. You were pretty fired up at back. You know, one of those fired up women taking class was always awesome to watch and things. So that's what the red shirt is. If people have questions, the other thing, your breast cancer. Well, let's first of all, how did you kind of find it? What happened there? Was it something that you felt while you were showering, or something that it just came up? I mean, let's talk about that for what happened or how you saw it. Let's talk about that for women, because you said you were a little bit younger for a mammogram. Now, that's something I didn't know. Now, is that something that starts in women's health at a certain age or something like that?
Yeah, you're supposed to start having them at 40 years old. So I was, you know, a month away from 40 when I discovered it. And, you know, women, a lot of women carry weight up top instead of, you know, being blessed with a big old can. Um, I unfortunately was the up top type person. And when I lost all the weight, you know, your boobs turn into deflated water balloons. And, you know, I just looked down, I saw this kind of like a dent, like a divot. And I thought, wow, I'm done breastfeeding 6 years ago. You know, I thought maybe it was a milk duct, something clogged or something. I don't know what the hell I thought. And I started to mess around with that area and touched it. And it was super, super hard, like a rock. Didn't hurt at all. And then I decided to show my friend who's a nurse practitioner, and she said, "Yeah, you got to get that checked." So I did all that, and you know, my doctor called me, and she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I don't. Where are you?" And she's like, "Are you sitting down?" And I said, "I think you should sit down. You seem really like anxious and nervous and shit." And she's like, "Well, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this over the phone." I'm like, "You don't have to tell me anything. I already know what you're going to say." So,
Mm.
and she's like, "Well, how are you?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." Like, what are you talking about? You know, everybody thinks you're gonna like freak out, and I don't know what they think, but I was totally okay. Well, now what do I do? And she said, "You know, I want you to go see this doctor. He's a surgeon, whatever." And I would send my daughter there. So I'm like, "Okay, perfect. Then I'll go there." So she didn't want to delay any procedures because, you know, they acted so aggressively. I mean, I found out on January 6th, and I met with the general surgeon and a plastic surgeon, and January 24th, I was being operated on by two people that I've never met before. So it was a very aggressive approach to it.
So,
And then I didn't really know if I had to have chemo until they biopsy and dissect the lymph nodes that they take from you while you're in surgery. It's crazy. You have to have a radioactive injection, which detects cancer in like the sentinel nodes, lymph nodes. And so I did that. Then they did the biopsy and ended up I had to have chemo, and I was really pissed off because I had really good hair, and I knew it was going to go. So that picture, on the front of this podcast with the pink hair, I kind of rebelled and went and cut all my hair off and dyed it pink before it started falling out. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just that was the most fucking annoying thing ever, was your hair is gonna fall out, and I'm like, what? Really? Oh my god,
So did the lymph nodes, did that come back clean or did it not? Is that
it
what?
did not.
So
So
it
there
did
was
not.
no, there was like a microscopic speck in the lymph node.
Mm.
So that's saying that it's jumped ship basically and gotten into your lymph nodes. Your lymph nodes are like your train tracks. I know how you love trains, but so it's the train tracks to your organs. So when somebody has a cancer, say like a liver cancer, and then it jumps into a different organ, it's gone there by way of the lymphatic tract, the lymph nodes. They're all over your body. So
So
that's
that's where it was. So what was your mindset when you first got the news? I mean, what was it like, and then what was it like having to tell your husband and stuff like that? How did you guys as a family decide what's going to how this is going to be conquered and what you're going to do?
I kind of am the way I am. I just like get it the fuck out. Like
Yeah.
get it out. That was my mindset. And I talked to my husband. I talked to him on the phone, and then I talked to him in person, and he kind of cried. And I'm like, wait, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. I don't do that. You can't do that. So, and then I started to call my family members, and that it just I stayed on the phone with one person like too long, and I'm like, okay, forget this. So
No.
I made a private Facebook group, and that way I could keep everybody up to date. There's no way I could keep calling everybody. I called my one sister. I was on the phone for 2 hours, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's like 7 more of you people, just my siblings. I have 8 siblings. There's
Ah,
no way I'm going to be able to do this.
are you the only
So,
one in the family, or was there any history on your side?
not, I'm the only one. I'm like the alien of my family. I'm
Yeah, that's
uh I'm the shortest one. I'm the only one born out of state. I'm the only left-handed one, and I'm the only one with my blood type. So I don't know, milkman or something back in the day. I have no idea.
Isn't it funny? These millennials don't even know what a milkman is.
Right.
Um, um, that is, yeah, that I would imagine you had some kind of what was it like in your private thoughts when you had to sit and think about it on your own? Was it the same thing? Well, I'm just gonna be aggressive, just like I am to fight, and and that's
Yeah,
the way it was.
that's pretty much how it is. How I am is how it was.
Yeah. So I think that's important. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on because you took something on. You didn't kind of get. I remember when we got word from you that this has gone down, and I remember talking to Robby about it, saying, "You know what? I think this lady is one of those ones that can beat this." I said she can probably beat it by sheer will, for crying out loud. Um, so I thought, well, let's see what goes down. And then I think you talked about to us the mastectomy right before your birthday. I remember that too.
Yeah.
And how hard was that for you to think, or did it just not matter at that point?
Oh, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
I went to that surgeon. He was an older guy, and he kind of had like those droopy eyelids, and he said, you know, we we got to take the left, and I'm like, well, what about the right? And his eyes opened, and I actually went by myself too, and he kind of thought that was weird. He kept looking around and like looking at me, and I said, "There's nobody coming. Like this is it. I'm." He's like, "You're here by yourself," and I said, "Yeah, why not? Like, is that a big deal?" So I opted for both. You know, I don't know why you wouldn't. A lot of people have called me since I've dealt with that, and tried to help me, with their decision making. And it's like I can't tell you, what you would do. I did, something for certain reasons, but yeah, I can't. I can guide you and help you along your path, but I can't make a decision for you. You know,
So
my first,
you
my
did
first,
double then.
I did double. Yeah,
Hmm.
might as well make a match. I just looked at it as an upgrade. Shit, why not? Right? You got to look at it some positive way. There's no other way.
You look at it as an upgrade. See, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about right there. So,
right.
um, I guess, I don't know I don't know what would go through a woman's mind as far as that goes. I just know how strong you are, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because this is just, um, I have breast cancer on, and I don't know if you know that Dickie too. He's a testicular cancer survivor.
Oh, no, I did
Did
not
you
know
not know
that.
that? Yeah, he is.
No.
Yeah, I have a podcast on him too about his thought process. And it's funny. It's a lot the same as you. It's like, okay, what do we do? Let's get to rocking and rolling, or whatever it is we got to do. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's something that he had himself. So just around cancer itself is, because I lost my nephew to that. You know,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Cody.
yeah, this is the month that we lost him. 3 years
Oh,
ago,
okay.
and he was out trying to beat it too, trying to find the right surgeon. And then he did have surgery, and he did come through surgery. But that brain surgery is something else. And I'm not sure if you know this too. We have another black belt in our AKMF. His name is Woody White. If you go look him up, he's fighting brain cancer too, but he's winning that battle.
Good.
He's right in the middle of this chemo, like what you did too. And he speaks quite often about what that is. I mean, how did that was that an ass kicker for you, or what? Going through chemo, was it a hard process? Did it make you sick? Did you
So the
continue?
first chemo with the breast cancer, well, first of all, I went locally, and my very first round of breast cancer, they poisoned me incorrectly. And then they told me about it, and I'm like, what? So she said, well, you can see somebody else in our office, or you can go somewhere else, or you can stay with me. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not staying with you, that's for sure. And then I decided, I'm going to make another appointment with someone else in the office. So the lady comes in, and she starts talking about radiation, and I'm like, wait, I don't have anything to radiate. I had a mastectomy. I'm out. I'm out of here. Like, forget it. I'm done. So I moved to UCLA. I
Uh,
figured I'm close enough. I live close enough to LA. Let's go get some experts touching me instead of this place.
wow.
So I moved to UCLA. It was a really good thing. I got a really good guy, doctor. And during that breast cancer, I actually was reading up on, the same kind of chemo and stuff like that that people were going through. And I brought it to his attention that, hey, these people nowadays, they're only doing like 4 rounds, which is 8 rounds um, of this chemo. And this was my last, it would have been my last appointment with him if I was right. And so he hooks me up to the machine. He walks away, does research, comes back, and he's like, "You're right. This is your last round." And I'm like, "What the hell? You're gonna give me extra for nothing?" But okay, I'm good. This is my last round. And I was like, "Hey, can I go across the street and take a shot of tequila when I'm done with this infusion?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, he's like, "Just one though." I'm like, "Okay, perfect." Just a little celebratory, like, "Yay, I'm over this shit." But back to your question, yeah, it did make me sick. Uh, I would. It's like they give you a bunch of steroids, and then they let you crash off of them.
Hmm.
Um, that chemo wasn't even close to the chemo I went through in 2020 with my other cancer.
Yeah, we'll
That cancer, that chemo, all of that is a whole different animal. Breast cancer is like nothing compared to what I went through in 2020.
Yeah, well, so we'll talk about that. So, I mean, once you went through your breast cancer, do you have a lot in your immediate circle that's had anything that way done, or not really?
No, nobody. None of my family members. Actually, one cousin had breast cancer, but nothing. Nobody immediate. Nobody. Nobody
Yeah,
to.
that's interesting.
My sisters came in um, to help me out, which was awesome. But yeah, nothing. And my sisters are all older than me, so my mom, nobody's ever had any cancer. And I was genetically tested this last time for 250 different things, and I have nothing in the genetic. So I was doing it for my kids and my sister's kids and stuff like that, but everyone's clear.
Well, I guess that's one thing when you go through cancer and you are super tested. So,
Oh yeah.
I would imagine I didn't think about that when when I had those blood clots that almost killed me in my lungs. I went through a CT scan. So I guess if there was any cancer then, they would have found that there through that scan too. That I guess that scan kind of picks up
Well,
that kind of
when
stuff.
they
I
do a
don't know.
CT scan, like I get scanned now every 3 months, and I've moved to CTs, but it's three different scans, chest, pelvis, abdomen. So a PET scan would show your entire body, but the CT is just targeted to the area in question. So yours would have been your chest, making
I
sure
see
your
how that
lungs are clear.
I see how that works.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
become like a medical, like very knowledge in the medical aspect of things because you're kind of on your own, especially when you get cancer during COVID, like I did, which was not a really good time to get cancer.
Yeah.
Nobody can come with you. There's pain involved, so you're on narcotics, and I'm a big sissy. So I decided during the breast cancer, after that lady messed up and poisoned me incorrectly, to start top secretly recording all my conversations with doctors. And I think
And
I let you listen to one of those
that's right. I
conversations.
remember this. So let's
Yeah.
fast forward into what this looks like for you. So you you went through this, and I remember getting what is the next cancer that came along, and how was it discovered?
So I had my tubes tied with my second son because I had C-section. And then, you still have that annoying thing monthly that's called a period that chicks have. And I'm like, okay, well, is there anything we can do about this? So they had a procedure that's called an ablation procedure where they cauterize your uterus, basically your cervix, and you don't have a period. So I'm like, I'm signing up for that shit. That's awesome. So I did that. And then 2 years later, during COVID, I got I got a period or what I thought was, and so I call the guy and he's just like, "Well, you're just getting old. We're gonna have to do a hysterectomy." And I'm like, "All right, whatever. Do whatever you gotta do." And it's COVID, so we're talking like teledoc, like kind of like we're talking right now. I'm not actually in his office. So I finally get to his office. I make an appointment, and they had to do biopsy and stuff like that to clear you for the hysterectomy. And then we booked it 2 months out. And so I'm still dealing with this, and he would call me periodically and ask me if I was still bleeding to death, and I'm like, no, dude, I think I really am. And I actually went to the ER twice in Ventura with pain in my abdomen, and they told me I was constipated twice. And I was like, no way, I am not. I am like so regular, you have no idea. And yeah, they just chalked, oh, there's like clay like stuff down in your lower intestine, whatever. And I'm like, okay. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, nah, something ain't right. So I called my chemo doctor from breast cancer, and I told her I need a referral to a different gynecologist. So she refers me to this guy in LA. I drove to Westwood to see him. He's a gynecologist oncologist, so he's a cancer female doctor. I go into his office, he does an exam, and he says, huh? And I was like, well, I've never had that reaction before. And I said, is there something you see? And he said, there's a cyst. And can I biopsy it? I'm like, dude, do what you do, dude. So he biopsies this cyst on a Monday. My stupid ass decides to go to Las Vegas on Wednesday. So I drive with my friend in her Sprinter van, not very comfortable, to Vegas. We book my surgery, hysterectomy, for a month and a half out with this guy. On Friday, while I'm in Vegas, the scheduler calls me and says, we need to move your surgery to Tuesday. And I'm like, Tuesday, like next week? And she says, yeah. And I was like, wow. Okay, was it a bad biopsy? And she says, oh, I can't tell you. He has to
What?
tell you. And I'm like, well, okay. And she said, can you come in tonight for a CT scan? And I said, oh, no, I can't come in tonight. She says, well, are you not home? And I said, no. And she says, well, where are you? I said, oh, I'm in Vegas. And she's like, well, aren't you bleeding? And I said, well, can it come with me? And then she says, well, aren't you dizzy? I said, well, I've been drinking tequila like all day. Yeah, I'm dizzy as shit. And anyway, we're laughing about it. And she tells me the doctor is in a board meeting, a tumor board meeting about me. And he'll call me at 6. And it's 5:30. And I'm thinking, all right. So I just go back to gambling, wait for my call, 6 o'clock. And I'm sprinting through the casino, because it's loud. And, he tells me this gigantic word. I don't know what this gigantic word is, but okay. See you Tuesday. And he's like, yeah, okay. Anyway, I tell my girlfriend on the way home, because they want me to come in, tomorrow for a CT scan. So we rush out of Vegas the next morning because we'd been drinking. We can't drive. And rush out of there. And, I tell my friend the gigantic word as I'm looking it up on my phone the next morning. And she's like, oh, that's not good. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, that's bad. So anyway, it was called leiomyosarcoma, which in the cancer world, sarcoma is like not a word you want to hear. So after the guy did the biopsy, he opened like the floodgates of hell. I don't know what he did, but it was worse than it was before, the bleeding. And I get there, do the thing, go home, get ready, come back Tuesday for my surgery. I get prepped. There's like people everywhere. I mean, like 6 doctors, 8 nurses. Like, what are all these people? Because the cancer is 6 in 1 million, like super rare. Half those people had never seen it before, so they were excited.
What?
They get to, well, it's kind of their job to, they get to see something they're probably never going to see again in their life. There's med students at UCLA and professors and doctors and people everywhere. So I'm excited. They're excited. Everyone's excited and happy. It's like a party in my room. Awesome.
So you have one of the most rarest things. Do you know
Yeah.
anybody else that had it?
No, I don't. I still don't. My girlfriend that was driving back to Vegas with, that I was driving back to Vegas with, she had a friend that had it, and she didn't make it. But since I've had it, I became a member of this group of people. Oh, are we still on there?
Yeah, you're there. I see
Uh-oh.
you. We're good. You're still there. Can you hear me? Donna,
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello?
I'm here. You good? I can hear you.
Mm-mm.
Oh, we got a small technical difficulty here.
Are we still there?
We're still
Oh,
here.
shoot.
I'm still here. Can you see me? Or not?
I don't know what happened.
Can you see me, Donna? Donna, can you still see me? Oh, she went off. Let's see if she comes back on, guys, because we're just getting into this story of Donna Castillo. This is, and we'll talk if she can get back on here in a second. What that looks like, because she was in Vegas and she gets this second cancer of one of the most rarest cancers that you can have. And this is her story as she gets ready to, go through her chemo and all that. And so we'll see if she can get back on with us. The last thing, while we're talking about, the survivor of her, if you guys listen to her a little bit, she is super headstrong on as a fighter. She was like that. She's like that in class when she trains, and she has this thing about life that is, just she just doesn't take no nonsense. And I think when you hit something like that, when life hits you with some stuff like that, you you know you want to be the warrior that you are, and you want to be the warrior for everybody else around you. And I just saw that with her. As it is, she's coming back on right now as we speak. Hold on a second. There you go. We're back.
I'm gonna
We're back.
blame that on my husband.
That's all. It's all good. It's all good. I was talking about your mindset here just a little bit anyway. I could still hear you for some reason. I don't know. You couldn't see or hear me.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything. It was weird.
Yeah. So yeah, you're back. So let's go back to where we were on that story, is letting the audience know about where we're at. So you have all these people here. Is you probably got the best of the best of doctors that are going here. Was his
Yeah.
prognosis to you hopeful, or was he like, we're going in doing this, but this may not be what you think?
Actually, they didn't tell me until after I was in remission. So, yeah. I'm by myself, and it's COVID, and I'm drugged. I'm on Dilaudid like ridiculous. And um so the surgery went well, whatever. I go home, and then they had to have another board meeting about my chemo, and basically they voted because they don't know if chemo is effective towards this cancer because it's so rare and there hasn't been enough study. And I'm like, wait, what the shit? So now you want me to be poisoned and you don't even know if it's effective.
So,
I met a
so
sarcoma
they're using
specialist.
you as a as the experiment.
Yeah. So I met with the specialist, and he said, well, look at it this way. If you do the chemo, at least if it comes back anytime, you can say you did everything humanly possible to try to avoid that. And I'm thinking, okay. So sign me up. Okay, great. So before I got into doing chemo, 10 days I went home. 10 days after my surgery, I felt funny at nighttime, and I tell my husband, I gotta poop. Just give me more laxatives. It's these damn narcotics. So I take more laxatives. It was 6 o'clock at night. And he's like, oh, we should go to the ER. And I do not like doctors. I don't like the ER. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. Just go to bed. It was like 9 o'clock by the time he went to bed. And then, a couple hours later, I couldn't pee. And then I'm thinking, oh, damn, okay. I need more water. I'll just drink more. And I'm on drugs, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? And then all of a sudden, I couldn't walk. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like pulling on his pant leg, like crawling around on my floor in my room. And I'm jacked. I'm so jacked. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'm ready. Like, we can go to the ER now. I'm jacked. And it's 6 o'clock in the morning, so it's 12 hours later. And I call the ER because I got the number in my head on speed dial. My kid has asthma, so I'm like, I'm jacked up. I know he can't come in. I need a wheelchair to the curb, like pronto. So before I get there, there's a wheelchair there, and I go in, just shot up with Dilaudid, their favorite thing to give me. And thank God my friend Kathy was working that day because I was brought in and she could see that she's jacked. So she helped me get to a room like pronto and get me drugged and whatever. Anyway, I had a mass. I was septic. I had a mass that grew in my pelvis that was like the size of a giant peach. And they put me in my room and they tell me, we're sending you back to UCLA. Like, we're not touching you, basically. And I'm like, what? And they said via ambulance. And I'm like, no, dude, I live across the street. My husband could take me. And they're like, no. You got to stay here and you have to go in the ambulance. And I'm like, what? And they said, you don't want to go during COVID again, back through another ER and be readmitted. And it's complicated. So I'm brought back in to UCLA, and I'm not very happy about that. But they had to drill a hole in my hip in the back to reach this mass that they had to have like a drain tube. And let me tell you how fun that drain tube was when you're on drugs and you forget it's there and you sit on it. You're like, holy crap. So I was there longer with sepsis than I was with cancer. So that was really bad.
Yeah,
And
sepsis
then,
is sepsis is what took Brandon Kemmer's father.
yeah.
So
So,
what
and it was
caused that?
bad.
What caused
They
it?
said it was from my uterus sitting in pooled blood. Now, I was bleeding for 37 days.
Ah,
This was not a normal period.
you think? So,
Right. Well, it's
um,
COVID, though. You're trying to push to get this happening quicker, but, they keep pushing you
man,
and pushing you. So, thank God I went to UCLA. Anyway, I finally got released from the hospital on 4th of July. Man, I don't know why, but I really wanted corn. And I kept saying, "What, am I getting out today? Because I really need some corn." And they're just like, "What are you, crazy?" So I finally got out on the 4th of July and got some damn corn. And I was happy about that. And then I had to wait, a couple weeks to start chemo. And then I start this super brutal chemo. Like, I feel sorry for old people and little kids that have to touch this stuff. This stuff, I can't even tell you how bad it was. It was so bad. The first round, I thought I was having a heart attack because one of the chemos makes you short of breath, and then the other one causes they give you a shot. So you get so depleted in your white blood cell count that they give you a shot that boosts your white count off the charts. But usually I would get the pain. They get the shot creates bone pain. And I used to get it in my femur with the breast cancer chemo, but this chemo, for some reason, I got the pain in my chest. So it was like causing bone pain in my chest, was short of breath, and I thought I was having a heart attack. So I ended up in the ER almost every round of chemo with this one. That time I thought I'm having a heart attack, and then I find out that the doctor gave me generic. And I'm like, "What? Don't give me generic. Give me like the regular stuff. At least I'll get the pain in my leg, not in my chest." And then the
yeah,
shortness of breath, you learn like, okay, this one, they don't tell you anything. They just give it to you because everybody has different side effects. Well, I just happen to have all of the side effects. Every single side effect that you can have, I had it. Um, but there were certain things. I also got sepsis from chemo, and I also got C. diff from chemo. So in 2020, I almost died like 4 times. It's terrible, but I just tell everybody once, but in reality, it was bad. and I just don't like to freak people out. But now everybody's going to be freaked out.
So let's
Um,
talk about the phone call that you let me in on. You remember that?
oh yeah.
So,
So that was after my chemo. The last
mhm.
round of chemo, I got C. diff, and then I was scanned in November, and it was clear. And I was scanned in January, and all of a sudden, I had colon polyps
Right. That's this
out
is
of
this
nowhere.
is the I remember you talking to me that day, and then I listened to the doctor's conversation with you, right, and telling you this, and I'm like,
Hmm.
remember, I couldn't even talk to you that same day because it took me personally like 24 hours to process that this woman has just kicked the shit out of these cancers and sepsis, all this stuff, and
Yeah,
now they're saying that you have polyps in the colon. And I'm like, what the
and
heck?
one of them was like 30 millimeter, like gigantic. And I keep telling this lady, like, it's the chemo. And she doesn't believe it's the chemo. And I'm like, I don't, well, they just came out of nowhere. Come on. So they removed them in January. And then I went back in April and I had more or, reoccurring spots. And they removed them again. And I had another scan and they're completely gone. Like, freakishly just vanished. Just like I said. It's the chemo. The chemo was brutal. I mean, it was not. There was no friendly part about that chemo.
And you don't really know with or without it if it would have done anything, correct? So if you didn't do it, would have it killed you, do you think? Or
I think so.
is that something you had to go through in order to make it
You
happen?
most the people, the group that I'm in, the people that have had reoccurrences hesitated on the chemo out of the gate, or they say that, well, there's nothing saying that it works, so they didn't have it, and now they're having reoccurrence. And once you have a reoccurrence of a cancer, it's worse than the first round. So, I was, opted to do the chemo just because I really liked the sarcoma specialist and I really liked the way he explained stuff. And I was like, yeah, what's it gonna do? I mean,
Mm,
really, like, you just cut cancer out of my body. Why not give it a try?
right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
who knew it was gonna do all the shit it did? If I had known it was that bad, I might not have done it. And I had to do a lot of it, like, for 12 rounds.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and
yeah.
that one
I
made
remember
you,
listening to her too, going, and the
uh,
way she did it on the phone, I'm like, what the heck?
yeah.
Is that-
Well, that lady was my oncologist who gave me the poison. She administered it, and when she's UCLA too, but when she first administered it, I got like super bad. And I realized that she gave it to me backwards. She gave me the sarcoma specialist wrote the recipe basically. He's the chef and she's like the sous chef. And she gave it to me backwards and I questioned her. So we had a little weird relationship from the get-go. And I said, "Why are you doing it backwards when he wrote it this way?" And she said, "Well, it doesn't matter." I said, "Well, it matters to me because I went all the way to Santa Monica to see this specialist who wrote this, recipe this certain way, and you're not doing it that way. And I want you to go back to his way." So I was pissed from like day one with her. So when she told me that, you might have to have part of your colon removed and have a colostomy bag,
right?
I'm like, wait,
I remember
what?
that's that's yeah. I remember saying this,
Uh,
man. I'm like,
okay.
what? You know, already setting you off in a spin. I remember us having the conversation together, and you're just like, I don't know what.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I guess we're just gonna have to see. We're just gonna have to see. It was quite a,
Yeah.
quite a blow, quite a phone call, and for me to process that, and
Yeah, that
and
was a
then here
lot to
we
take
so
in for me too. I'm like, hey, whoa, wait,
well,
what?
yeah, I remember. So, I mean, how hard was the second round on the family? How were your kids with you? Were they scared for you, or are you just kind of trying to stay on the positive all the time with them? How'd that go
Yeah, no,
in house?
I just pretend like I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Always positive, and
Yeah.
if I'm super ill, I would hide in my room. But I instead of crashing off of the steroids, which is what they have you do, you're taking 4 pills a day, and I'm up all night because I'm sensitive. And instead of crashing, I started taking extra. So instead of not taking any on Friday, I would take one, and then I'd take one on Saturday and like wean off. So I was like still going to the racetrack and doing whatever. I never
Uh,
really missed a beat because I kept taking the steroids. Had I stopped taking the steroids, I would be like most people that have chemo, laying in bed, feeling sorry for myself and whatever. But it's not how I roll.
but
So,
that's how that worked. Um, you know, as you can, as people are listening in on us here, you can see that you have a. I mean, I guess your choices are fight or die. I mean, that's just the way it is, right?
yeah.
You know
I
what I
mean, when you
mean?
get chemo, you're jacked. You can lay down and ball up and stay, in your room for 3 days, or you can figure it out. So I figured out, well, if I take extra steroids, I won't feel like shit. I'll still have energy. Sweet. I'm going to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
I told my doctor straight up, like, you need to give me more of those pills because I keep taking them. And so they actually learned stuff from me, my UCLA doctor. I also bought a paraffin wax machine because chemo causes neuropathy and it makes it feel like your fingers and toes are frozen. So I would heat them up in the wax and then wear dog poop bags until the wax fell off. And that would help me with my neuropathy. So
Ah,
now they're prescribing lotion with capsaicin in it to patients. And this was like a year and a half ago they figured this out. But they figure it out through patients, I guess, like me, that kind of figure it out yourself.
right. Well, I guess that speaks a lot, right? You got to take responsibility for your own health too. I mean, it's you, the one going through it, and if there's something that's working, why would they not let you continue on? I mean, especially when you're going through something like this. So,
Yeah.
that's really good. And you and
But
I have spoke. Go
they
ahead.
don't give you a guide.
Mm.
They give you a bag of, actually I busted out this bag. They give you this bag of drugs. Okay. And they're like, well, yeah, if you're fucked up in this department, take this one. And if this happens, take this one. And then there's over the counter drugs. And I obviously still have that bag of drugs because I tried not to take anything I didn't need to.
Ah,
Um, Except the steroids. I was taking bonus steroids, which people think like, what? You're taking more than you need to? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna be fat in the end because of the steroids, but at least I got to do what I wanted to do and I wasn't at home balled up and you know.
yeah, yeah. I guess it's just a give and take of what it is. So, I've watched. We've talked. And Robby and I have talked about. If you're around if you're around you for a little bit, how uh, you have like this no excuse type of an attitude, and when people are kind of dogging it around you, it kind of pisses you off, right? It's just like you're short with it, and
Yeah.
I've talked to Robby. I said you're looking at somebody that has beat this double cancer and then this colon thing, being told BS, and
Yeah.
she has looked death in the face I don't know how many times, and I guess at that point you just don't have time uh for excuses, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I think I've seen that with you for a long time. And so, how is it that you help others when they say, well, I know one thing, when people give you excuses, you just shake your head and just, I didn't even want to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
there's
I kind of
there's
I
ones that
kind of
you
feel
do.
bad.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad because Robby told me he was sick about a week ago, and I'm just like, shut the front door, dude. Right? And no, he really is sick. And then I felt bad. I'm like, shit. So I've been taking him soup and all kinds of crap. Oh man, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bust your balls. I didn't, I thought you were just like having a cold, a man flu or something.
That's
He's actually really jacked up. So, with his
yeah.
asthma stuff.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think he got this when he went on this trip. My daughter, when she went on this trip, she did the same thing in this when she was young, like his kids, and she got deathly sick, and I wasn't there. Can you imagine that? We had to have one of
No.
the chaperones that was with her the whole time. I'm like, should I drive
Uh,
up? Should I do what is it I should do? Well, we're leaving tomorrow. So I drive and we'd end up leaving tomorrow anyway. It would just make no sense. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the air up there in Sacramento or what the deal is on people. So, but
Right, or
you
maybe
know,
the bus, just the bus, and
that's
maybe there's mold on the bus. I don't know. I came up with all these things in my head. Um, but as far as helping people, I actually just helped a girl 2 weeks ago. Never met her before in my life. My friend calls me and he says, "Hey, I have a friend who's gonna be having surgery for breast cancer. Can you come meet us for lunch?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, dude." So, I went and met him for lunch and had this long conversation with her. We became connected, via text, and I help her with stuff that if she's wrong, she thought she was getting remember the radioactive injection I told you about to light up your lymph nodes. She thought it was going directly into her nipple. And I said, no, 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 no. It's not in the nipple. It's like above it. So she's like freaked out. But then when she had it and it was above it, she was like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, well, I'm not going
like
to tell you something if I'm wrong. If I don't know, I don't know. But so we became closer, friends. And I've
uh,
never, like I said, I never met her before. And other people have called me, for guidance and chemo advice and stuff like that. And after I learned about that steroid trick, if you don't want to feel like crap and you have to have chemo, don't do the crash day. Wean off of it instead of crashing, because you basically feel like crap for 3 days after. So I'd have chemo on Thursday, and then I got to thinking, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm going to feel like crap Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? I don't think so. So I started taking the steroids extra, and they worked. I never felt like, really bad. I got stuff, fevers, and whatever, and ended up in the ER, but that was out of my control.
do you
But,
have any anxieties now when you have to go get yourself tested again, or like, let's see what's
uh,
up next, or
dude,
how does it? How?
scanxiety, that's a
Yes,
real thing.
yeah.
It really is. I thought, nah, that's stupid. The first couple times I did not. And now it's like, oh, damn, this is like real. You get very like nervous and apprehensive and like, oh, crap, I hope they don't find something. But, you know, then you get there and the person's really cool and you're like, oh, that wasn't bad.
So, how long has remission been for you now?
2 years.
Is there a time where they say you don't have to do as many scans, or if you hit
Yeah, it,
5 years, what does that look like?
it starts to get less and less as you get, deep into the 5 year thing. They, uh, they told me I was in remission. And then sorry, I followed up with that my gynecologist oncologist, and he calls me a medical miracle, and I told him to quit calling me that. And he said, why? And I said, well, it's kind of creepy because you're a gynecologist. And he said, but you had a 37% chance of survival. And I was like, what? I had no idea. He told me that last year, and I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that? And he's like, well, we didn't want to like add more to your whatever. And I'm like, holy crap. 37% chance of survival. Are you out of your mind? You didn't tell me that? When I came back from Vegas and I had the first surgery, I had to have 2 blood transfusions with the surgery. And then during chemo, I had to have another blood transfusion. So I was pretty jacked up. And I didn't even know how jacked up I was until after it was all over, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I guess they just had you fight the fight the way you needed to fight the fight. You know what I mean? I don't know how
Yeah,
it's been
it
quite a
was
story to hear.
it was rough. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'm tough, and I kept ending up at the ER, which I hate that place. So, but when you
yeah,
have chest pain and your breathing's weird, or the one time I went because my fever was 103.8, I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably not good. So I should probably go. Like, at least I knew to go. Not the
yeah.
first time when I got sepsis and I was a stubborn donkey and didn't want to get in the car.
Well, you're getting this week coming up. You're testing for brown belt in KRAV now, correct? That's this Saturday, right?
Yeah, my brown
Right.
stripe, last brown.
Is it is that what? And I think that uh what I looking forward to tying a black belt around your waist because I use you quite often when people give me excuses why they can't do anything,
Yeah,
or you've stepped away and you've come back, and you've stepped away and come back, and you're on the brink of fixing making this thing happen. So it'll be a year of celebration here soon instead of the opposite when we get to tie that around your waist, and I think we gave you uh, the warrior type award anyway for uh, the AKMF did.
yeah, that was
Watching yeah,
awesome.
what
That kind of when I saw you in January at that award thing, just seeing you personally and your successes with your weight loss and shit, I'm like, what am I doing? And so I've been on a mission like you have no idea. I'm testing and I'm like going to the gym like 2 to 3 times a day. And I'm just on this crazy. I've lost 21 pounds since I've seen you in January. And that the award inspired me. Your personal success inspired me. I was
Mhm.
like, what am I? Why am I wasting my time? I need to get this black belt in case I have a fucking reoccurrence of this shit. Like,
That's
I don't know, like that my mission in life right now, I'm giving up I like I said, I'm one of the owners of the racetrack organization and I'm giving up my track day on Saturday to come and test because I'm like so on a mission. I think you asked me about a couple weeks ago if I was ready. Dude, you I don't think I've been more ready. Seriously. I am like on a mission.
Yeah, I'm
Hardcore.
looking forward to that. You're gonna get me. I'll be your one that's gonna be grading you. Uh
Awesome.
I want to be the one to you know to put you through your paces and be your cheerleader there and
Awesome.
see you succeed and
Yeah,
win. and
that'll
I
be
and I do
great.
appreciate all the yeah, that was the medical thing was for me too. I know exactly what you talk about. That's why I asked a little bit about your private thoughts and stuff like that, because when I was told that I had double blood clots in my lungs, and this is from an injury on top of it, um, and I was taking steroids too, and some stuff that, and not even doing it the right way, which is even more stupid. But I remember being there and them telling me the same thing, that you really shouldn't be alive. And I'm laying in bed and I'm like, hey man, can I get up and walk, or can I take it? And they wouldn't let me get up and walk for 3 days. I couldn't do anything, because of the clot or whatever, trying to figure out how that all worked. And I remember in my private thoughts laying there going, my son's getting married in June. It's February, right? And I said, and I possibly could not be at that wedding, you know. And the reason I ask you about how it did with your head, because, you know, it messed me up. You know, I didn't flip script until 6 months after that occurrence in the hospital. I was so scared of everything that I did. When I lay down and go to bed, if I felt something in my heart do something weird, I felt, oh my gosh, I'm going to have a freaking stroke. You know what I mean? This is what was my big fear. You know, I kept asking God, hey, listen, just take me home. Don't leave me on this earth with a stroke. Right.
Right.
And, um, and so any little thing that was happening to me when I was laying down and I was having bad insomnia, because I'm like, well, if I stay awake, I don't feel those things. Right.
Yeah.
And this was like 6 months, and at some point in this process, I couldn't take it anymore, and I just said, "I'm not living like this." I
Hmm.
said, "I'm gonna take my health back," and Jay Walker's the one that I really kinda confided in a lot of things, and then once he did his this keto competition, I'm like, "Well, if Jay Walker can do it, I can do it." And so I didn't tell
Right.
anybody. I didn't tell anybody nothing, and so Jay knew, and then I just had a mind shift, and I just said, "Okay, well, I'm going to take this health back, and I'm going to make, uh, you know, the best of what I can. And if something takes me by then so be it. It is what it is, and that's just the way it's been ever since. And I just, you know, hit it head on. And you know, and I look back on the pictures of myself too, and I'm like, I don't really know even how much I really weighed at the highest. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You know, you get the most unflattering pictures that you can take, you know, but I'm just like, I remember being miserable, but I don't remember when you look at pictures, you're like, I don't remember being that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people look at me now and I don't even remember you like that. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so that's why I had those, because I had some real private thoughts in my head of like, man, am I going to make it or not make it here? Or am I going to have a freaking stroke? I mean, that was just something I did not want to encounter.
Hmm.
And so I had to have a mind shift, that warrior's mind shift. And then, you know, watching what you go through yourself, you know, you know, that's what I wanted this for today, because I'm sure you're going to inspire others to know, well, you know what? You either sulk in your agony, because everybody's fighting something every single day. Somebody's fighting something,
Right.
and you either sulk in it or you do something about it. So I want to appreciate, you know, I've always had a heart for you, because I know you know, I know how hardcore you are. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And you know, you have that personality that's you have a crash personality, a lot like I do, right?
Right.
Some people like it, some people don't. I don't even give a shit.
Ex- I
And
always
so
tell Robbie that I'm like, dude, either people love me or they hate me. There's like no in between. They don't like get used to it. If they don't like you, they don't like you. That's just
yeah,
how it is.
it is.
And I give no. My pocket's empty. I give no more fucks. Seriously,
You know,
I'm
yeah,
out.
yeah. So, and I told him that too. I said she's really faced this type of thing, and I looked at it too, and it just got to a point of, and then when I did 75 hard, right?
Hmm.
Then it escalated even worse. 75 hard brought on something to me like, you give me one excuse, I don't want to hear none of your bullshit excuse, okay?
Right.
Oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I'm too this. You're not too busy when you're looking at, you might not be living. All of a sudden everything you think is busy is not busy anymore, right?
Yeah.
This was in my head when I was going through this. And then I went through 75 hard, and then I read Jocko's book Extreme Ownership, and then when I started taking ownership of everything, all my excuses, all the bullshit, all that stuff that I did, I was like, you know what? I don't want to hear it. So the more people gave me excuses, the more I said, just get away from me. Okay. Just
Yeah.
say what it is. Don't give me an excuse. Just say, you know, hey, I'm not doing this because of this, or this. I don't want to hear any excuses, or I'm sick, or I can't train, or I can't drive 40 minutes. I can't do this. I got so sick of hearing it, I just cut people off. I said, "Don't even call and talk to me why you're not doing something. Just do what you're going to do."
Hmm.
And I've seen the same thing in you. And you know, I've told everybody, when you hit something like that, when you hit these walls, something does flip script in you, and you just become, you know, just like what you've become. You know what I mean? So yeah, we've definitely been able to batter back and forth on each other. So yeah, I look forward to Saturday. I'll be there for you for sure. You
That's
know, yeah,
awesome.
right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, I've had thoughts of this could be the end. I've
yeah,
shit. Like, what the hell? I changed my made sure that my husband has access to my kids' savings, and I went to the bank, and
right.
it's crazy.
I've
I
done
have a
all that.
I actually have a funeral playlist in my notes in my phone, and somebody saw me looking at something, and they saw that, and they're like, "You should delete that." I'm like, "Why? Those are good songs, man. What the hell?" So, I mean, I get it. I've had, I've had
Yeah.
thoughts.
Hmm.
Why wouldn't you if gone through something like this?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. For
thought does
sure.
cross your mind for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
you
I want to
definitely
make
gone.
sure I got to make sure people play awesome songs and shit on some new
With
age
some-
crap.
that's something. Yeah, I don't want. That's yeah,
I'm
that's
actually
true.
I decided I'm probably going to donate my body back to UCLA if I ever, you know, well, when I pass away.
Yeah.
They think I'm some kind of medical miracle. Well, shit, take it then, I guess,
That's
Do research, do something, fix people.
yeah. Yeah.
But, I became mad passionate recently, with teaching, like, the white belts and seeing how, like, they glow when you, like, teach them something your way. It's different because, every instructor has their way, and
Yep, they do.
it's, I you know, I say he teaches martial arts and I teach more like martial asshole, but at least
Yeah.
you feel like you're safe when I teach you something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, yeah, I was like really into that, a training thing, and then I
Well,
was
you're
like,
gonna
"Yeah,
have
I'm still
yeah.
coming. I'm
Yeah,
still coming."
you're gonna have awesome stories though, Donna. Like I talk about this quite often. As you develop into an instructor and you're like, listen, man, there's the times that I had to come in my own head and I had to fight through some stuff. I says, you think you got to fight through yellow belt testing? Try and fight for your life for a second. I don't want to hear it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Okay. And the stories that come from behind the so-called tragedies in our life or the things that come along that we have no control over. But yeah, it's you're gonna have something and you're gonna get this black belt too, and you're
oh,
gonna
yeah,
say, hey, listen, I got this black belt and I fought breast cancer. I fought this one in a gazillion cancer that nobody gets it at COVID. How
right,
can you give me any excuses why you can't do something? Shut the
exactly.
frick up.
You
You know what I
know,
mean?
I tried to be all hardcore last year and lose weight and go to the gym and whatever. And I don't know if I told you this, but uh, because of the chemo, a piece of my cartilage in my shoulder broke off and stuck in the joint, and my arm I had like frozen shoulder, and I had to go have surgery and have it removed. They just knew that there was something in my arm, and they didn't know what it was. And I'm like, well, what the hell do you mean you don't know what it is? And ended up being a piece of cartilage from the chemo, like, deterioration. So that kinda put the
uh,
brakes on, and it's like, "Damn it, I really wanted to test in December." I was, like, pissed, but whatever. Here we are, and, moving forward, and, hopefully, knock on wood, no
yeah.
more no more delays because 'cause I'm, like, sick of the delays. I really
Well,
just
I
wanna
think
get
that
at
yeah, I
this.
think that you have an awesome story. Yeah, I look forward to your test and being one of the AKMF instructors and another cancer survivor. It's just watching what you went through, watching what John Viverka went through. It was just fighters fight. And that's why I say it all the time, man. Fighters fight. It's
Yeah,
fight or flight. Either get on it or whatever. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I totally get that. So I appreciate
yeah.
this time, man. We went about 20 minutes over, but I think your
Oh,
story is
damn.
well worth it. You know what I mean?
Alright. Yes,
So,
thank
all
you.
right.
I look
All
forward to
right. I
seeing you
appreciate it, Donna.
Saturday.
I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.